Welcome to 3YTV coverage of a very, very special event here at the Circuit of the Americas, because for the first time, the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series is visiting the insane, brand new Circuit of the Americas. Well, not brand new, but new to us here on 3YTV and the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. I'm Greg Rentz, who's been asked to go to the Mards. Joining me is the series president here of the American Sim Racing Series, Jim Foose, joining me in the booth tonight. And Jim, a very, very special event for the Will Warstler Racing Grand Prix, because not only is this the first ever Hacksaw PC's Premier Series visit to COTA, this is also a very unique event. This is the first ever timed event in Hacksaw PC's Premier Series history.
Absolutely. And, normally drivers have to race the track and their competitors. Tonight you're racing the clock as well. So there's three elements there that are facing everybody this evening. And this is going to be one great race. It's hot. We're here in Austin, Texas, brand new facility, an exciting 20-turn road course. And, man, I'm pumped up about this race.
3.43 miles here, the distance for Circuit of the Americas, as you mentioned, located in Austin, Texas, and a track that will host stock cars on the big circuit on Sunday night for the first time ever. You get a preview of what to expect here tonight. And Jim, qualifying just getting underway, timed race here tonight. You're looking at about 2 minute and 15 to 30 second laps is about the window we've seen. Going into this qualifying session, what are you expecting to see from these guys? They've got the practice in. They've kind of figured out what to do, what not to do, but this is a very, very technical racetrack. Qualifying underway, what are you expecting from these guys as we begin the first ever COTA qualifying session here?
We're going to see the same thing in qualifying that we're going to see in the race and that we just saw in practice. A lot of cars getting off track. It's tough. I tested here about a month and a half ago with these guys, and every single driver left with probably more incident points than laps completed. So it's a really difficult track. It's actually designed for open wheel cars, not really the heavier stock cars. And boy, it is just tough to get around the 20 turns here, especially turn one. Such a fast turn. You're going uphill, you're downshifting, and you have a really, really hard left-hand turn.
And when we take the green flag and go off into that first turn, you're going to see these guys really, really wondering what is going to happen, because you're going to see some guys being very patient at the start, I believe, but you're also going to have your guys who may not get the qualifying lap that they won, as you watch Greg Evans, defending series champion, who's been just as hot this year, starting it off as he was at the end of the year last year. He has a road course win. We talked about it before we went on air. He's one of those guys you have to factor in here on the road course, but we talked about it because road course brings out a different cast of characters up to the front. You will see some guys here at the front that you don't normally see near the front, because road course racing falls into their wheelhouse. This is why one of the main things we like about road courses, it brings out the ringers in this style of racing, and you start to see some new faces towards the front in an event like this.
Look at the entry list for tonight's race. Absolutely zero road course only drivers in the field. These are our series regulars. There's 33 of them here tonight, so almost a full field. And this is going to be a really competitive race. You're going to see probably 8 to 10 guys that are really, really super good at road courses. Nick Carling comes to mind. Scott Eckrich comes to mind. Greg Evans won. Tyler Seville, Doug Mullins. That group is going to be up front. And then, like I said, 8th to 10th is kind of the breakaway. And then you look back to, all the way back to maybe 22nd to 25th. And that group is just going to be lumped together, kind of racing and looking for the guy ahead of them to make a mistake and go off track and get around that driver. It's extremely difficult to pass. It's extremely difficult to run side by side here. So you're really looking for the driver in front of you to make a mistake so that you can capitalize. And that's what the drivers have to do. And then a little bit farther back, you're going to see the guys that really are just here for the attendance credit of being at every race, and probably won't complete a whole lot of laps before the car is off the track.
As we watch qualifying unfolding here, you saw Pete Baskins just a moment ago on screen as we coming down the track. I believe this is going to be one of the Yenish brothers who visited victory lane for the first time last week. It was Jeff Yanish picking up the victory, as that is Steve Yanish, his brother, in the 23. They finally were able to break through and get that elusive first victory in the series. But as they come out here tonight, here, Jim, as our drivers lay down their qualifying laps, you mentioned it's such a tricky track, 20 turns here for this one. The Grand Prix layout is what this track has been known, and really no two turns are exactly the same, kind of like what we see at some other road courses. This is a very, very unique racetrack. Some of these drivers, this may be the first time they've turned laps on this track is this race event. So it's definitely going to be a wild night to watch unfold here on 3Y TV. But let's talk a little bit more in depth about that time limit aspect of it tonight, because we're not on a lap count this time around. We're on a time limit, 75 minutes the distance. And explain to the fans at home who may have never seen a timed race on iRacing exactly how this is going to unfold.
Pretty straightforward. There's just a time clock that starts when the green flag drops. In our case, it's going to be 75 minutes. Rather than saying the race will be 35 laps or 40 laps or 25 laps, now it's just 75 minutes. So what happens is the time clock just runs down. It runs backwards. And as you get to the end of it, generally speaking, the white flag will fly when the leader is coming to the start-finish line with less time on the clock than the average lap would take during the race. Or, in some cases, you end up getting all the way to the end of the 75 minutes, and then it drops the white flag because that's when the leader got back there. So really an interesting concept. It was something that we came up with mid-season last year. Did not implement it until this season. And really, a lot of these tracks, it's hard to determine a really good lap distance. So you could say that this race tonight will be 40 laps, and those 40 laps might take an extra, we're looking about 32 laps, 30 to 32 tonight. But that extra 8 to 10 laps might take an extra 25 minutes to complete, and it just runs a whole lot of time out for the broadcast, for the drivers, and for everybody involved in the league, that we felt just putting a time limit strictly on the race and not having a lap count was a really neat idea to do and to try. And the drivers received it pretty well. I think they're excited about it because now, I mentioned it earlier, you're not only racing the track and the competitors, you're racing the clock as well. These guys want to put in as many laps as they can in 75 minutes.
As we work our way through Midwest Simulations pole qualifying here, you notice at the top of the board right now, Scott Eckridge, who has quite a few wins on the season already. He's gone to victory lane 4 times in the series. But look who's sitting in second. We talked about him a moment ago, Nick Curling in the number 10. We would probably venture to say if there was a such thing as a road course ringer, per se, in the Hacksaw PC series, it would probably be Nick Curling, because he won at Infineon last year, a dominating performance on the carousel layout. And here he is again up near the top here at COTA, 0.4 of a second off of Scott Eckridge. Now, on a more traditional race, 0.4 of a second, you would be going, oh my gosh, that guy who's on top of the board would be lights out ahead of everybody. But on a track like this, 0.4 of a second, that's really not a whole lot of breathing room as you click laps away. Then you're going to have Greg Evans, AJ Digby, Corey Silva currently rounding out the top 5. Drivers you see up near the top just about every single week. 19 drivers have taken time thus far. Make it 20 as another one clocks in. You have 33 drivers here in the field tonight. Very healthy mix of drivers as well. And like you said, no road course only guys, no one-offs here. Yes, you have your guys who excel at road course compared to some of the others, but these are all series regulars. So you're going to see them going out for the win and trying to become, if you're not Greg Evans, Scott Eckridge, Tyler Seville, or Jeff Yanish, the 5th different winner of the season. You know that's got to be an eye-opening opportunity for a guy like Nick Curling or even Johnny Avila, who just went to 2nd. So it is going to be definitely a wild night and a very wild start to the race also.
Well, remember that a win in this series doesn't necessarily put you in the playoffs, but with the way that wins have been gobbled up by the big 3, dare I say that, so far in the season, a win could definitely lock you in. If you're 11th to 20th in the points, there are those 2 wild card spots available right now. Jeff Yenich sits outside of the top 10 and would take one of those wild card spots on his Kansas win last week. So if you could win here and you're one of those guys that sits 11th to 20th in points, you're in the playoffs at the moment.
Could very well be one of those things that we just have to watch unfold, as you see a few drivers out there still turning some laps, but they might at this point just be trying to get some extra seat time in. We see this with a lot of drivers. We don't have the usual warm-up that we've seen this season, but Jim, we have reached the end of the qualifying session. Let's take a look at the point standings real quick. You mentioned, of course, the big three, as we've talked about throughout the season. Evans, Seville, and Eckridge, they're sitting on top of the board 1, 2, 3. But you saw the rundown there. You see Yazik, Silva rounding out the top 5, Jersky, George, Digby, Warstler, and Yenish, your top 10 right now. So you can see these guys who will be looking for a shot to maybe leapfrog and get themselves into the top 10. But, Jim, we're going to the grid. Qualifying is in the books. Scott Eckridge gets himself the pole, but we are moving down to the grid. Let's take a look at your starting lineup. Scott Eckridge will bring him to green with Johnny Avila to the outside. Nick Curling and Greg Evans will be starting off in row number 2. AJ Digby and Corey Silva, row number 3, 5th, and 6th. 2 guys hungry for those first wins of the season. Tyler Seville and Will Warstler, a couple of teammates starting off in row 4. Rounding out the top 10 will be Michael Krobach and another Will Warstler Racing entry for the Will Warstler Racing Grand Prix. Doug Mullins rounds out the top 10.
King Adam Jersky in 11th with Woody Mahan alongside on row 6. Jackson Van Valkenburg and Brian Yazik make up row number 7. Row 8, Jordan Harnish and Mark Myers, who spends a lot of time running V8 supercars in his spare time. Troy Haight in the 28 machine, and Pete Baskins back there in row number 9. And John Eckhart and Larry Orn makes a return to the series for the first time since Las Vegas to round out row 10 in 20th.
Good to have Orn back in the field. The only other driver that took a qualifying time was Kevin Stone in the 21 or the 21st position in the 17. Drivers who are electing to take the provisional and not posting the time. Mitch Brown, we're used to seeing that out of him. He likes to start near the back and work his way to the front. You have the Yenishes in 23rd and 24th. They make up a row. Evan Black, who's had some strong runs this season. Thomas George will start alongside him. Adam Hogland and Alan Young make up the 27th and 28th spot. Rounding out the top 30 are Tim Knott and Grant Brown. Final 3 drivers in the field tonight will be Todd Kirkwood, Jason Stewart, and Richard Fletcher, making up your 33 drivers who will take the green flag for tonight, Jim.
Yes, what a beautiful field that we have here as the pace car gets ready to roll off. There it is. Now it's moving, and they have a long pace lap before they make it over to the green flag.
A very long pace lap indeed. And when we get going, we will really get our first good look at a true run of a lap here at Circuit of the Americas, because with qualifying, we were kind of bouncing back and forth between cars trying to get you the best view of who to watch for. But once they take that green flag and they start rolling, it's going to be wild for sure to see how it goes. And when we take the green flag, we're just going to kind of sit back for that first lap and just let you guys experience what a lap at Circuit of the Americas is like. But notice, Jim, up at the top, that ticker has already begun. So when we take the green flag, we're already going to be a little bit into the time limit there. As you saw, the ticker was already winding down.
Yes, so they begin it whenever they roll off, and they're actually on a shortened pace lap. They're coming to the green right here. So this is about to get really exciting. We're going to see all kinds of racing action as they go uphill and into turn 1. And who knows what's going to happen after that.
As the field gets set to come to the green, Scott Eckridge will be leading them in the number 70. But like we mentioned, we're just going to sit back and enjoy the fireworks with you, the race fans, here at Circuit of the Americas, because the Will Warstler Grand Prix is coming to green. Sit back and enjoy, because we, for the first time this season and first time ever, are coming to a green flag at Circuit of the Americas. The Will Warstler Racing Grand Prix is officially underway here on 3Y TV. as they come through this final turn and complete that 2-minute and 15-second odd first lap. The Will Warstler Racing Grand Prix has a lap in the books. Now, however, as you see, we are on the time limit. It is already ticked down a couple of minutes. So as they roll off into the first turn, and this was the turn we were kind of worried about, Jim, but it looked like everybody got through relatively clean. We did see a couple of spats. Oh, there goes Krobach into number 72. Does a little bit of a 180, and now all of a sudden Krobach, who has some background in open wheel racing on road courses, now he's going to have to work his way through the field.
Yes, that team definitely did not soak the tires in maple syrup.
Definitely not, as Eckrich rolls through the center. In the corner, Avila and Curling made a little contact on the first lap, but they were able to settle it down. They sit second and third right now. Nick Curling, again, he had that dominating performance last year at Sonoma. As you see Jackson Van Valkenburg riding alongside with another car. Couldn't quite catch the number on it. Here's a look at the replay of what happened here with Krobach. And wheel hop here at Circuit Americas, that's going to be big, especially on these tight corners like this. I don't think that's the last time we're going to see something like that, Jim.
Absolutely not. If that is the last time we see it, these guys really are going to do a fantastic job. It's pretty hot out here. It's 121-degree track temperature. By about 4 laps into a run, your tires are absolutely shot here. So these guys are going to have their hands full as the race goes on.
You know, hockey's not really big in Texas, but that's going to be what it feels like by the end of it, because these guys are going to be slipping and sliding around this racetrack like it's an ice rink. As you see one driver locking up the brakes. That was the Camping World number 45 of Eckhart, as Mark Myers goes for a slide right in front of him. Nice save by Myers there, but you saw Eckhart locking up the tires and Myers then sliding on that next corner. Nice save by Myers, though. Loses a couple of positions as Jeff Yanish, last week's winner, kind of lurking back there. And we talked about it a little bit, but now that Jeff has that win, he might not be pushing it as hard. Let's take a look at another replay here. As you see there, the tire smoke coming out, and that was, it was not Eckhart that locked him up. It was that black car in front of him, and the contact there with Myers, as Eckhart tried to check up to avoid that, caused Myers to lose a lot of positions there, and he'll have to fight his way back up. But Jim, as these laps tick away, and again, we've talked about it, over 2 minutes per lap, as you see some of our other drivers making their way through. There goes Larry Orn in the number 31. He's got Mitch Brown behind him coming after the Camping World Toyota, again, of John Eckhart. And again, Camping World, of course, Marcus Lemonis. And Jim, you guys kind of got into the spirit of Marcus Lemonis. You guys drank the Lemonisade, it was referred to, with the drivers this week. You've got some interesting stuff going on this week in this race for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a couple drivers that came to us earlier in the week, and they didn't have the track. This is one of the $15 tracks on iRacing, $14.95. And Sam and I were just talking about ideas and just bouncing ideas off of each other, and if there was anything that we could do, or who wasn't going to be at the race. And I says, you know what? I said, let's put some money up. I says, I'll put the money up, and we'll buy one person the track. Tell us why you want to race in the race, and it can be a private message. It doesn't have to be a public thing. And that's what we did. Evan Black ended up getting a ride here. They were really pushing for that. Evan's a great driver and hasn't quite had the luck on his side this year, but has had the speed in the past. So we're really happy that we could help him out and get him here to the track. And of course, the DMM team over there with Corey Silva and Adam Hogland, they were short on cars. So they have a few of my old virtual road course cars. Of course, they were pretty well used up when I had them.
That's definitely awesome to see people helping each other out. And even the series directors get involved. You mentioned Sam, of course, another very key staple of this series. With you being here in the tower with us, Sam's kind of calling the shot single-handedly here. So he's definitely got his work cut out for him, as he's got 33 drivers on this racetrack. And it's the first time in series history that it's been there. Drivers definitely getting a workout, but one guy who's really getting a workout is Scott Eckrich, because he has opened it up already almost 3 seconds. Make it 5 seconds that time over Johnny Avila, who's got company in his mirror. One of the best battles on the racetrack is for second right now between Avila, Curling, and Greg Evans. They're lurking back there. We're about to have a nice three-car battle. Fastest lap of the day so far by Scott Eckridge in the number 70.
I don't think that Scott Eckridge is out there on a Sunday drive. So as the race goes on and the vehicles that are at the back of the pack slow down a little bit more, he continues to run his pace. They will come back to him. Yes, it's a 3+ mile racetrack, but he will run into traffic. Drivers will slip off the track, and that all takes time. So he will catch traffic, and that's going to be the most difficult part of his race.
Something happened with AJ Digby. Wow, catching the turtle on that number 14. And I think it's a safe bet there, Jim, that all 4 tires were off the ground. I think the right rear was off for just a split second. You mentioned lap traffic maybe coming into play for our leaders. Well, first up will be the number 86 of Todd Kirkwood, and he just went for a spin, so that's going to cost even more. And it looks like Kirkwood has said, you know what, I've had enough, because he has took the tow, and the number 86 is on pit road. That will mean Richard Fletcher will be next up. They're already halfway to him here on this very long, windy road course, but Eckridge is already in just 3 laps completed. He's working his 4th lap of the day. He's already caught up half the track of a 3.43 mile road course to the tail end of the field. That shows you just how quickly lap traffic could come into play here. So Eckridge is definitely going to be trying to maneuver his way through there very quickly, and that's going to allow Avila, Curling, and Evans to make their way through. By the way, Greg Evans just got around Curling, so move Greg Evans up into the 3rd spot.
You know, we talk about the competitiveness at the front, but there is, like I mentioned earlier, a disparity between the front runners and then that mid-pack and then the back of the pack. There are guys, like I said earlier, you know, prize eligibility is based on attendance. There are guys that are only here. Mark Myers goes around in the 04, but there are guys that are here to log some laps, get a little bit of road course experience for some of the races later in the season, and just be at the race. And Alan Young is around as well. So that was a tough little section there of the track for our drivers.
You mentioned just a moment ago drivers would be looking for road course experience here. This is the first road course race of the season, but it will not be the last. We have quite a few road courses still to come. Looking over the quick schedule, how's 2 weeks from now sound? Actually, yeah, 2 weeks from now. Or no, sorry, 3 weeks from now. The schedule color code on the schedule kind of confused me, but 3 weeks from now on June the 2nd, we'll be at Sonoma for the 2nd road course of the season. And again, all road course races this year are on a time limit. So with that being said, the road courses are going to take a little bit of a different look this year than they have in years past in this series. And with the first one of these, as Evan Black goes around in the number 92. And Jim, that's a hard one for Evan Black, because he was, again, that driver you mentioned that he was able to win the sweepstakes to get the track. But you mentioned he's had some rough luck, but he's had a lot of speed. He's had a lot of speed in that number 92 car. Unfortunately, not the way he wanted his trip to Austin, Texas to go here tonight.
Yeah, you know, he's a multi-time winner. When the Premier Series was split between the Cup and the Truck Series just a few years ago, 2019, multi-time series winner, and just struggling with getting the luck to go his way. Not all the road races this season are on the timed format. Sonoma and Circuit of the Americas are, but I don't believe that the other 3 are off the top of my head. I know we have the Roval in September, Watkins Glen in August, and then of course Road America's debut in July. That one may be timed as well, but only a few of them were. Like I said, this is something that we're trying out at select races to see if we really like the format, get some feedback from the drivers, which we'll be getting tomorrow, I'm sure. And a lot of guys were excited about this. It's just a different element to racing. You don't have to plan a pit strategy on what lap you're going to pit. Now you kind of just plan it around the clock a little bit.
Again, first of 5 road course races this season, and trying out this new time limit formula. No set lap count. It's all about how many laps you can get done in 75 minutes. And Scott Eckridge up at the front right now, 5.6 seconds ahead of Avila on lap number 6 as they wind their way through the S's here. And this is a very unique racetrack as well, Jim. Very, very flat compared to some of the other tracks that we go to as far as road course goes. Again, Road America, very, very terrain-heavy track. We'll be there coming up in the summer. Of course, Sonoma in a couple weeks, another terrain track. Watkins Glen, you could argue, would be kind of the closest thing to this as far as like track layout-wise and the degree of banking you see. But when we go to Charlotte for the Roval, that's going to be an entirely different animal than what we're seeing today.
Yeah, the Roval from my days in the Cup Series and also in the Grand National Series, when it was on the schedule last year, the Roval was treated as if it were the equivalent of an IndyCar street race. And you just go there, you know that the wrecks are going to be big. There's not a lot of single car pile-ups per se. There's more multi-car pile-ups than single car incidents on the track. Not counting just off the track. Oh, we got Grant Brown overshooting the corner there. Watkins Glen is probably my favorite road course that we go to in the Cup Series, just because I like the terrain there. The only part of that track I haven't quite figured out is the S's. I cannot flat foot the Cup car through those turns.
That'll be coming up again later on in the season in August for Watkins Glen. There's a good battle going on right now between a couple of the loud pedal cars and Will Warstler Racing, as Woody Mahan, Doug Mullins, and Brian Yazik have been battling it out for position for 8th, 9th, and 10th. Adam Jersky, last year's runner-up in the points in the number 69, he's joining the battle as well, as Yazik has gotten around Mullins. Now Jersky trying to take a shot at him. AJ Digby lurking back there as well. Jordan Harnish in the number 27. Harnish, again, is another guy who has had so much speed this season, just has not had the racer's luck to go with it here, as we have our, I believe, our second official retiree. Our first one to officially park it is Evan Black in the number 92, as he is loaded up on the trailer. Todd Kirkwood, while he still remains in the car, he has made it very clear that he does not expect that he will be heading back out on the track. So the way we're functioning right now, 2 cars out of the race so far, Jim.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk from the drivers of that this race was not going to be a very enticing race to run, and there are a few drivers that had been talking about starting and parking really early in the race, and it's nice to see that didn't happen. That guys are actually giving it a fair shot. And what an exciting race we got so far. Yeah, Scott Eckrich is out to a pretty big lead, but through the field there are cars going everywhere and positions changing just about every lap. Cars are slip sliding around, and this hot Austin, Texas day sure has given us a great racetrack.
Boy, one of those battles right now is between 2 loud pedal cars, because for 8th position right now, Woody Mahan and Brian Yazik, you're watching it right now, as Yazik gets a run to the inside of Mahan. They have been slipping and sliding around. Like you mentioned, we're on lap 7. Doug Mullins is going to creep in there as well. Adam Jersky taking a peek as well. There he is in the number 69. We're working lap number 7, Jim. You mentioned it would be about 4 laps before these tires were shot. We have already surpassed that, and it is living up to what you explained, because these guys are slipping and sliding around on this very hot racing surface in the heart of Texas. This is going to be an interesting few laps. Checking back in, this is the battle for second between Avila, Evans, and Curling. Nick Curling lurking back there in the number 10, just trying to really size up these guys. 2 of the big 3 in front of him. And Johnny Avila is another one of those drivers, Jim, who's had so much speed this season. And if something goes his way here, something goes his way there, he's got a couple wins this year already to talk about as well. Unfortunately, just not been able to close it out so far this season.
Yeah, if we were going to add a driver to the big 3 and have the big 3.5, it would definitely be Avila. And the only reason that he would be half is because he doesn't have a win yet. So he's battling to get his first win. He did join a little bit later into the season, little ways in. So he has fought an uphill battle. I believe he just got into the top 20 in points after the last race at Kansas last week. But man, this race, there are cars slipping and sliding everywhere. I don't know if I got to mention it earlier, but I did not complete a timed lap here in all my practice sessions and all the track testing that we did. Never quite made it with a lap without an off track.
That just shows you how difficult this racetrack is. There are battles all over the racetrack. I was just checking in with Grant Brown and I believe it was Jackson Van Valkenburg. Yes, the battle for 16th are nose to tail, and Van Valkenburg slipping and sliding there through what would be turn number 1 as Grant Brown tries to pull away here. Again, this is for 16th on the racetrack, and these guys are wheeling it like it's for the battle for the win. That's something about road course racing. There's battles all over the racetrack as one car off the track in front of him. That's Thomas George in the 80. This is going to get really hairy here as Grant Brown all of a sudden has to check up. Van Valkenburg saw what was going on and lost a little bit of ground as he was trying to give George room, and Grant Brown wound up getting right up on the back bumper of George. So all of a sudden, this is now a 3-car battle for 15th.
You know, we've seen some position swapping and a lot of close battles. What we haven't seen is a lot of huge jumps in the running order. Brian Yazik is up to 8th from starting in 14th. AJ Digby down to 12th from starting in the 5th position. And now we're 3 wide. This is quite the battle here with George and Van Valkenburg. But the driver that I've been watching has been Brian Yazik as he is climbing his way through the field and should be a threat here if he continues that upward trend.
Yazik is +6 at the moment. Under pressure, though, from Doug Mullins in the number 18. Yazik is right now one of the biggest movers. The biggest mover, oh, man. The biggest mover was Grant Brown.
You're just making a better corner there.
Yeah, but Brown is the biggest mover of the race. Started 30th. He was up in battling for 15th position. He's +14 on the ticker at this moment, and he settles back into that 16th position now. So the 00 is the biggest mover of the race right now. Biggest drop, I believe, would be the number 72 of Michael Krobach. Remember, we saw him have that spin on lap number 2, but he has recovered nicely. He's up to the 21st position, and with that, it has actually catapulted him out of that position. It would be Troy Hayton, the number 28, that has lost the most spots so far.
Yeah, and quite the battle. I'm watching the Larry Orn 31 car with Mitch Brown. They're racing. Oh, we got another. Those guys have been going at it for at least 2 or 3 laps, and looks like there may have been a little contact there for some synchronized spinning.
See if we can take a 3-wide TV replay and look at that. Whoa, did you see Doug Mullins just catch the turtle there? Oh, my goodness.
Oh, that's some frequent flyer miles there.
My goodness, he caught that thing a ton and did not lose a position as Jersky was kind of lurking back there. Here's a look at the replay of that battle that we saw between Van Valkenburg and Brown. These guys have been racing their tails off for the last couple of laps. You see Brown kind of dive for the crossover, and look at that perfect form, 10 out of 10 on the synchronized spin. And Brown able to hold on to it. Van Valkenburg does come to a stop, but does a nice job. Now let's take a look at this, because we saw this while we were watching something. As you see at the bottom, Doug Mullins loses the spot to Jersky. But let's take a look. Harnish taking a peek as well. This is what happened with Doug Mullins. This caught our eye while we were raving about the incident with Brown and Van Valkenburg right about there.
One of the turtles.
And we've seen that a couple of times already today. AJ Digby has visited the turtle. Now Doug Mullins going for a visit. Troy Hayton, Clarence Bonner have both parked it for the night, so their nights will be wrapped up as well. Scott Eckertz in the race lead. He is currently working lap number 10, just begun lap number 10, by the way. Greg Evans up to second into number 2. He's gotten around Johnny Avila, but Eckertz is 11.5 seconds up, and he has caught lap traffic. Richard Fletcher in the number 43 has gone a lap down now, so on a 3-mile road course, it took Eckertz just under 9 laps to be able to catch up to lap traffic. Eckertz right now showing why he has to be considered one of the favorites everywhere he goes. Tyler Seville, though, he's having a pretty quiet night by himself in the 6th position, 2 wins on the year. He's about to begin putting pressure on Corey Silva, though, in the number 94 to try to crack the top 5. There is Seville, and there is Silva right there. That's going to be the battle for 5th here momentarily.
So these guys start to battle. You got to wonder who is going to go to the 2-stop strategy and who plans on making it on 1 stop. And will the gains of the 2-stop strategy and having those fresh tires be enough to overcome the time lost on pit road to somebody that takes the one-stop strategy, as the race, according to my math, should be about 32 laps.
Battle going on for 12th right now between Doug Mullins and Steve Yenish. Jim, at what point do you expect lap-wise to see our drivers on pit road for the first and for some possibly the only time? Working lap number 10 right now. At what point do you think these guys are going to say enough is enough? I'm coming in for some tires.
In the two-stop strategy, you have to do it about lap 10, 11, or 12. If you're on the one-stop strategy, your best bet is to just take the race, run to lap 16, complete 16 while you're on pit road making your stop, and then run the final 16 laps on out. That's the best way. Road courses on iRacing don't have caution, so we're not going to have an ill-timed caution. Nobody's going to get caught out or caught in. So your best bet is to just split the race into even segments. So if it's going to be 32 laps, which is what the math looks like it's going to be, I would say 11-11 and an 11-lap run. So 11-22 and then run it all the way to 32 there at the end. Or you could go a little bit back and you could have done 10-20 and then 12 laps to the finish, just depending on what you want to do.
And these guys have 3 sets of tires on pit road, plus the 4 Goodyear Eagles that they started the race on, allowing for 4 sets of tires available for use here this evening. So with that, you also have to factor that into play if you want to try to make a 2-stop race. You do have an extra set of tires if something goes wrong. I mean, if you come out, make your pit stop, and then all of a sudden you have a big spin, a big moment, and you have issues with the tires, you flat spot the tires, you have an extra set at your disposal if you want it. You have 3 sets of tires on pit road to play with. And do you think anybody would be cautious enough, as Doug Mullins with a slide into number 18, he hangs on to it. Do you think anyone would be willing to try to sacrifice that and use that 3rd set of tires if they need to?
Absolutely not. The time lost on pit road for 3 stops is not going to be able to be made up to the guys that only make 1 stop.
Mitch Brown loaded up as well. He has parked it for the night in the number 36. We're still seeing battles all over the track. Understanding Mitch Brown with issues as far as connection goes, which has been kind of plaguing him for the last couple of weeks. So another tough break for Mitch Brown. Michael Krobach has taken advantage of this fact, though, as he has used it to climb up into the top 20 again. He just got around Jeff Yenish for the 18th position as he begins his slow, methodical charge back up to the front. Biggest move of the race, still Grant Brown right now in the number 00. However, Steve Yanish in the number 23 is beginning to close in on that regard with him. He is now plus 12, Jim, in the number 23. He started 23rd, did not post a qualifying time, up to 11th in the 23.
Yeah, and the 55 of Yazek has not gone forward at all. He has just remained the same in the 8th position. He looked like he was making a charge, and it just has plateaued. I don't know if he's trying to save tires or what the strategy is there with the 55, but that early speed has plateaued, and he's just lingering back there in the 8th position.
He's 10 seconds back of the next driver in line, which would be Will Warstler in the number 29. So trying to make his way forward is Brian Yazek. And again, you mentioned it. He was charging through the field early, was plus 6 before too long as Richard Fletcher off the track behind him. And he does a nice job there, Jim. Typically, you want to try to get back on the track as soon as possible, but knowing that there was a battle for position behind him between Jordan Harnish and Adam Jersky, he stayed up off the track just a little bit longer to let those guys battling it out for a position in the top 10 go before he made his way back onto the racetrack. Very nice heads-up driving there by Fletcher.
Yeah, Richard is one of the most respectful drivers in the league. The whole Will Warstler racing team, they don't want to make an enemy. They don't want to mess up somebody's race. Especially trying to get back on the track here. And I think that Richard recognizes he's down a lap already. There's not really much to gain by pulling out so quick. So he just let everybody have a little bit of space there. Great drive by the 43.
And that battle that he let go, Jersky and Harnish right now, is the best battle on the racetrack as they go uphill towards turn number 1. Jersky trying to hold off Harnish, who took a peek to the bottom. And Jim, they are beginning to now close in on Brian Yazek in the number 55 as well. So this battle for 8th could turn into a battle for 7th here before too long.
Yeah, those drivers both sponsored by the Beef Jersky's Cheesecake. Emporium. Do we have a cheesecake flavor of the week here in Texas, or are we just going to do armadillo or something there because we're in Texas?
Yeah, we're gonna have to stick with the brisket this week, as we still had the blueberry lemon cheesecake from a couple weeks ago. Hey, I mean it was so good that hey, we had to bring it again. Our friends in Texas had to check it out. So blueberry lemon once again, it's second round. So defending its title as the Greg Rentz cheesecake of the race.
I think that's the same cheesecake that was here a couple weeks ago because I was trying to figure out why the refrigerator smelled like that.
Well, you see, what happened was I tried to get a hold of Adam for help for some cheesecake of the race, but he was so busy preparing for this race, he kind of got lost in the shuffle. So, unfortunately, that's kind of what happened there.
Don't worry, hey. I'm sure we can find a Menard somewhere that we can get a cheesecake at.
I was gonna say, according to the graphic earlier, you were banned from Menards, but I have been asked to go to Menards, as you see right there. I've never been to a Menards. We don't have one here in the Northwest. I think I did the math one time. I think the closest Menards to me is located in Chicago. It's about a 1,000-mile drive. So it's quite a ways.
It's worth the drive, especially with the 11% rebate on everything.
You know what's actually really fun is just earlier today in a group chat I'm in with my iRacing team, one of my teammates said, "You know what I wish we had here? I wish we had a Menards." And I kind of just chuckled to myself on that one. But you see battles all over the racetrack still. There's another one of the loud pedal cars. That, I believe, was Pete Baskins in the 39 chasing down John Eckhart. He's got Camping World on board, and we've seen a few Camping World cars here. Again, we talked about it earlier, getting into the spirit and drinking the Lemonisade, but we got to talk about Real World for a second because Marcus Lemonis turned heads once again earlier in the week, and this was a big one because we have been crossing our fingers hoping for something, some glimmer of hope about a 6/10 mile track located in the foothills of North Carolina. Well, the Lemonisade has struck again because Marcus Lemonis has said he is willing to help get North Wilkesboro back on the map as Doug Mullins pulls down pit road into number 18. Pit road window is officially open.
Yeah, I think business is picking up there on pit road. You're going to see a bunch of cars. So we're at lap 13 right now. You're going to see a bunch of cars come in, and I don't know if they can quite make it to the finish from here. This is a little bit early if you're splitting the race into two, so watch for the 18 to struggle there farther into the run.
You know what I'm wondering, by pitting at this time, about 3 laps later than what we expected the guys on 2 laps to do, I'm wondering if they're thinking that if they stay out just a little bit longer, those guys who are on the one-stop strategy will have used up enough of their tires that they're kind of hit the plateau. Wondering if these guys think those extra 2 or 3 laps will be just enough to try to go on a torrid pace to get back up there. The question is, though, how much time are they going to lose between now and then? That's going to be the big determining factor in this one.
We've learned that the out lap is not your fastest lap. You got to get the tires up to temperature, but you also can't abuse them while you're trying to get them up to temperature. And that's very hard to manage because you want to come out of the pits, you want to get those tires hot really quick. But if you give it a lap or so to get the heat built up into the tires, you're a whole lot better off long term than that very small short term gain.
Track temperature has gone down just a little bit, so that is going to help. Track temperature is down below 120 now. It's down to 119 degrees. Only 66 degrees ambient temperature, but I mean, when you're in the heart of Texas, that is going to cause this track to heat up. And of course, all these laps being turned on the tires, that's helping get the temperature up as well. However, now it's starting to come down a little bit. So that's going to help these guys just a hair with the tire wear situation. As a battle back, we're breaking out behind us. Steve Yenish is able to get around Jordan Harnish to break into the top 10. Steve Yenish finally able to crack the top 10. There's a nice 4-car battle going on between Yazik, Jersky, Harnish, and Yenish right now for 8th.
Yeah, and the sun is out in full blast here. It's actually out so much that our producer Carlos is producing the race while he's sunning himself on top of that tower over there in the middle of the track.
Oh, is
So
that what that is?
that's where Carlos went. Yeah, that's why nobody could find him. But yeah, but yeah, it's full sun. There hasn't been a cloud over this track since we got here.
And that is making for some awesome racing because of that hot racing track surface here. Scott Eckers trying to make his way through lap traffic right now, is now 13 seconds ahead of Greg Evans. Johnny Vila lurking back there, still in third. Nick Curling, though, under pressure. We have a battle for fourth breaking out now. Corey Silva has caught up to Nick Curling, trying to make the pass here on Curling. Might get a chance here as Curling takes that turn just a little bit wider. Jim, at what part of the racetrack do you think would be probably the premier passing zone? What part of the racetrack would you want to make your move if you're Corey Silva right now?
I am probably the last person that you want to ask that. As I mentioned earlier, I have not completed a lap without going off the track here. So I don't really know the prime passing points. Just for the simplicity, I'm going to say turn 1. Because I think that's the only corner that I know where we're at here.
We'll see how that goes. They're coming up on that, by the way, right now, I believe, as this is going to be the final turn there, I believe. Yes, that is pit road entry. So you think that this corner coming up right here.
Yeah, set them up coming out. Set them up coming out of the corner. Get that draft going down the straightaway, and then pull out a line and go around them. There's our track map. Hey, do we see that tower? Do we see Carlos? Maybe Carlos can give us a wave.
I see just a little bit of a glare right there. He's waving as Silva tries to put the pressure back on Curling. This is the battle for fourth on the racetrack right now. This is going on 23 seconds behind our race leader, Scott Eckridge. The battle for the 8th position has not settled down. Well, it actually, for 8th, yes, Brian Yazik has been able to pull away just a little bit, but Steve Yenish just got around Adam Jersky, giving another spot to the number 23 Toyota as he tries to make his way back up to the front. AJ Digby on pit road in the number 14. He's rolling down now. Going to pull into his pit stall, which is the 5th pit stall right now. So he will begin his scheduled pit stop on lap number 15. Again, we're a little bit less than halfway right now. Again, 75. Here we see right now, Jim, the difference between fresh tires and old tires. You can see right there, Doug Mullins in the number 18, 3 seconds faster than race leader Scott Eckers right now on these fresher tires.
But that 3 seconds is not going to last the entire run of his tires. And he is 1 minute and 22 seconds behind. So now let's do the math on that. Oh, we don't have a graphic on that. Carlos says he can't create one while he's up on the tower. Oh, there we go. Hey, there it is.
Oh, there it was. He's on. See, our producer's on vacation. He is. He doesn't want to do math on vacation, but our producer is saying he saw something here that he wants us to take a look at. As Yanish goes after Yazik. It's Van Valkenburg. Now, I saw a quick glimpse of this. What happened here with Jackson Van Valkenburg? Oh, there's a turtle. There's a turtle. And there goes a 12 car.
Caused damage to that car as well. By the way, I have run out of fingers to count for the amount of laps, but if my math is correct, it would take the 3 seconds, the 3 seconds a lap, about 40 laps to make up the difference between Mullins and Eckrich there whenever he was 1 minute and 20-some seconds behind. Now, of course, Eckrich does have a pit stop coming up, and that'll take a big chunk out of it as well. But we'll see if that 3-second difference hangs on here for much longer.
Checking in on some of our other drivers through the field. Woody Mahan coming down pit road now in the number 84. He was one of those guys in that battle a few laps ago. He's coming down from the 12th position, which is right where he started the race, Jim. He started in 12th, has been running in 12th for pretty much the last 10 laps or so. Had lost touch with that battle between his teammates Yazik and Harnish and Yenish and Jersky. He comes down in the pit stall number 12. begins his pit stop service. Grant Brown looks like he's making the turn on the pit road now in the 00. Biggest mover of the race. Here he comes in the 00. Oh, he missed the pit entry. What was Jackson Van Valkenburg doing just there? I saw Grant Brown missed pit entry, was backing up, and then all of a sudden Jackson Van Valkenburg squeaked through. We'll see if we can pick that up on a 3-wide TV replay. So this is a look at Jordan Harnish in the 27. He's going to catch a turtle as well. Loses a little bit of ground. Now let's see if we can maybe go pick up Grant Brown in the 00 because he missed the pit entry. Here you see him sliding in the 00. Now watch Van Valkenburg in the 12 come in and say hello right there. And those two, Jim, have been battling pretty much since the drop of the green flag.
Yes, those two Fords have been glued together throughout the entire race, including the synchronized spinning just a few laps ago.
Another 3-wide TV replay on screen. This is on board with Van Valkenburg. Was trying to get down on the pit road, and yeah, Grant Brown and Jackson Van Valkenburg did not get away.
I think he might have been following the car in front of him, which was Grant Brown, and Grant was coming to pit road. And I think the 12 car, that is a very deceiving part of the track. The 12 car may have thought that was the corner.
And just said, uh-oh, that's not where I want to be. But Steve Yenish is right where he wants to be right now because he's going after Brian Yazik. Johnny Avila coming down from the top 5 in the number 63. At last check was in 3rd place. Guy battling for his first win. But here, this is still the best battle on the racetrack. These 4 drivers, Yazik, Yenish, Jersky, who's on screen, and Jordan Harnish, they have been locked in with each other since about lap number 8. These guys have been rocking and rolling for the last 8 or 9 laps. Harnish with a big slide. Here comes Yenish to the inside in that number 23 blue Toyota. Drag race to the line. Give it to Yazik that time as they roar up the racetrack. And look out, Avila! Avila comes out.
Wow.
Yenish
off the track.
Yenish has to go.
There's a draft. There's a draft on the front stretch. You can actually draft the car in front of you as you race down to turn 1.
Nicely done, though, by everybody. And this is all for position, by the way. Here you see Avila.
Just a victim of the funnel. You come out of pit road, it's a nice wide front stretch and just what is that, about 167 degree left-hand turn?
Something like that. Some ridiculous number. And by the way, that was all for position as well because Avila was so far ahead that by the time those guys caught up to him, that battle was for position on the racetrack. So that's why Avila came out trying to hold on to every position they could because he knew that was 4 positions on the racetrack right there. That if he didn't get out on the track quick enough, he could have lost. So Avila throwing it out there to try to get back on the track. And look at the gap he's already opened up on him on these fresh tires as Yazik and Yenish go to battle once again.
It's not that far behind your race leader on the time chart.
And Eckrich is on pit road. Scott Eckrich, the race leader, coming down pit road. Evans stays out. Eckrich is so far ahead, he's still going to lead the lap this time around. Corey Silva on pit road as well. But for the first time tonight, someone not named Scott Eckrich is in the race lead. Nick Curling coming down pit road as well. He follows, I believe that was Silva. But there's your new race leader, Greg Evans, in the number 2. Been lurking in the top 5 all day. And now on a little bit of a different pit strategy, he takes the lead on lap number 18.
He's going to have to come in this next time by because he's going to give up way too much time to Eckrich and the others that have just pitted.
55 of Yazik, he's going to come in and take a pit because he is in 8th. And the rest of that group is all coming in as well. Yazik bringing Jersky and Harnish down. Believe Yenish stayed out. Yes, Steve Yenish, the other driver in that battle, stayed out. But 3 drivers in that battle that we've been keeping an eye on. Down pit road this time, Jersky, Yazik, and Harnish. This is 8th, 9th, and 10th. Actually, excuse me, 9th, 10th, and 11th.
I believe you'll see all of the Loud Pedal Motorsports cars on pit road this time by. And that can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse as a multi-car team. When you bring all your cars down pit road at the same time, it usually lumps them all together, and sometimes you have a little contact on pit road amongst teammates.
And we've seen that happen, not just with Lapel, but we've seen that with teams in general. And something I've noticed Will Warstler Racing do as a result of that, as we see some of our battles on track right now compared to our race leader. This is the 39 of Baskins, 41 of Not, and Baskins going for a slide. Driver's side door into the guardrail. Doug Mullins there in the number 18. What I was getting ready to say about Will Warstler Racing, I've noticed they have begun spreading their pit stops out. Their teammate, or they work on different strategies themselves when a race goes to green flag pit stops, and they try different things moving forward.
Yeah, see, we do a lot of that in the Grand National Series where we have our team alliance with Loud Pedal. If it's not a super speedway race, generally speaking, we will pit the lap before or the lap after the main team does, just because our driver is afraid of getting wrecked or causing a wreck coming onto pit road with a group of 4 or 5 other cars.
So you see different strategies with pit stops break out with teams, and that's something that makes these road course events so much fun, is because you have drivers who don't spend a lot of time in the road course realm, and they're out there trying to kind of think up what they think the best move is going to be. Let's talk about reference for a second here, because Greg Evans, who has yet to pit, is experiencing 6-second drop off right now off of his qualifying time. He qualified at a 2:18 on the money, 2:18.000. His last lap time, 2 minutes 24 seconds and 5:16 on the decimal side. So Evans 6 seconds off of what he did. Johnny Avila, the number 63, he just ran the fastest lap.
Yeah, Avila is putting a dent in Eckrich's lead over him by pitting just a couple of laps earlier. Just don't know if it's going to be sustainable as the run goes on. But back to my theory when it comes to pitting, and especially at road courses, you want to be the first driver to make the last stop.
See drivers trying to make their way through. There's Eckrich trying to begin his charge back up to the front. And the question remains, when does Evans pit? Looks like he's the only driver that is yet to come down pit road. Thomas George hasn't either in the number 88. He sits in the 15th position. Alan Young also has yet to come down. So
I don't believe Stewart has either.
Well, we've seen that out of Jason Stewart multiple times. You know Stewart's going to try something to get himself off sequence. You know if anyone's going to try something erratic here and try something that no one's thinking of, you know it's going to be the Stew in the number 1. See how long he can stretch it.
It looks like we still have 22 cars on the lead lap here as we're past halfway, just under 30 minutes remaining. And Evans to pit road in the number 2.
So the answer is lap 19. About half hour left to go in this one. Just under a half hour left. Working lap number 20 right now. Still on pace for about 35-ish laps in this one if this thing goes clean and green the rest of the way. Maybe a little bit less as we're tracking over 2 minutes a lap. But now all eyes go back to Scott Eckrich, Tyler Seville, Johnny Avila, and company. Eckrich is going to re-inherit the lead here, as he had already trimmed it down to 3 seconds by the end of it. Avila, 2 seconds. Eckrich is going to take the lead. Tyler Seville, I believe he is just out of the pits because he has gone from 3rd to 6th on the charts right now in the number 11. Corey Silva. There's a battle going on, right, by the way, between Curling and Evans. That's going to be for the 5th position.
Evans is on cold tires, fresh out of pit road, so he's got to watch what he does. He can't get too aggressive on throttle here. Give it a lap or two, and he'll have a much better chance of getting around Curling.
And that's got to be agonizing for a driver to be fresh out of pit road. You see 2 spots for position right in front of you. but you know you cannot push it right away or else you're going to be in a world of hurt. And Evans knows that. He knows he's got to get these tires up to temp. As Curling catches the curb a little bit, that could give Evans an assist there, as he might not have to push it just yet as Curling makes that slight little bobble, but he's able to hang on to it for now. But here comes Evans. Does he try to get a 2 for 1 here? Yes, he does, and he's going to get it. Wow, what a move by Evans.
That's a championship driver right there. That's your defending Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series champion, and that was a championship-winning move right there. Looks like Scott Eckrich has just set the fastest lap of the race, and he's 3 laps out of the pits. Let's hop on board with Scott Eckrich here.
New race leader Scott Eckrich. You see this very tight, very technical racetrack. And as far as like driving style goes, who would you think this style of road course, this style of racetrack fits into the most? Would it be a guy who likes to just go out and run and gun and try to leave as many laps as he can? Or does this fall into more of the calculating, methodical driver who likes to show their hand later?
This is a very calculating racetrack, but you have to attack the track, and you have to have the confidence that Scott Eckrich has to attack the track, because one slip up and you're off the track and in the wall. And look at that. He was sideways out of that corner. But look at how cleanly he gets through these corners. Nice and smooth. There's not a whole lot of back and forth on the wheel through the corner. Yeah, it's just one solid swoop of a move, and look at that. Listen to his throttle points too. He picks it up really nice and easy and gets out of it really nice and easy. There's no abruptness with this.
This is why he was able to lead pretty much that entire first run before the pit stop cycle, and Evans stayed out a little bit longer, as Eckrich has just been so smooth, so patient throughout this race, getting himself in position, hitting his marks. And that's something very crucial about road course. Hit your marks, not the other guy's marks. And that is something that Eckrich hasn't really had to worry about, because he's been out all by himself here. And ever since returning to the American Sim Racing Series and the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, he's been one of the strongest drivers in the field. And of course, joining back with Steel Horse Racing a couple of weeks ago. So now you have 2 of the big 3 drivers from this season in that same shop now, with Evans and Eckrich now battling it out as teammates. And of course, Tyler Seville, the other driver who we mentioned, the big 3, if you will, 2 wins on the air and a couple of poles to go into that as well. And Jim,
they were kidding around about merging teams. He is still with the.
He is still.
Yes, he's still teammates with Mark Cohn over there with the Loud Pedal Alliance.
All right, so he is still in there. Okay. They were joking around about causing the super team, and obviously it fooled us.
Yeah, now that team, I believe they use some Loud Pedal, share some information with Loud Pedal, but that's a Chevrolet team, where Loud Pedal is a Ford.
And we saw that a little bit last year, because Evans was working with Loud Pedal in the number 2 in his Chevy, but Loud Pedal, like you mentioned, has been a Ford team since pretty much its inception. But they were working together, sharing some information.
Yeah, Greg was doing a lot of the testing with Loud Pedal during the playoffs, and some driver coaching for the development drivers, including the Alliance team. So Greg was a big part of Michael Krobach's 2 championships, and also a big part of my opportunity last year to contend for both the truck and the Grand National Championship.
Let's talk a little bit about that Grand National division. We don't get to see it a whole lot on 3Y TV. We're going to get to see it later on in the year, but this is something we don't really get to talk about on 3Y TV, the development series, Grand National and trucks, kind of like a combination, but 2 separate points championships going on. They alternate Tuesday nights, correct? So we're going to see playoff races for, I believe, the truck series this year, and hopefully we're able to get something else going moving forward.
Be both the truck and the Grand National Series. So the last 10 weeks of the development series will be on 3Y TV. So all the playoff races there.
Perfect.
Yeah. You guys are going to have to find another announcer, because I I'm not going to quit my day job over there on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, you got a championship or two to go out and try to get here coming up on Tuesday nights. Eckridge in the number 70, 25 seconds ahead. As someone, that's the number 17, has gone for a ride. Kevin Stone in the 17, and hello, Pete Baskins. Nice job by Baskins to check up there. And Jordan Harnish back there going, please do not drop the cheesecake in front of me, boys. He makes it through. Nicely done, though, by everybody. But, boy, that got hairy. Let's take a look at a 3x TV replay here, Jim.
Just he hooked a turtle and...
Oh, I thought he was going to catch the other one.
That may result in a course cutting penalty for the 17. It kind of looks like he went over the line on both sides of the track, and we'll have to see if iRacing does that. Hopefully iRacing doesn't, because he was out of control as it was. Wow, and now we have another one. That's Pete Baskins in the 39, I believe. All those cars look the same this week.
Yeah, it's been fun trying to figure out or decipher which loud pedal car is which. And Michael Krobach was giving our usual cohort, Peter Short, a hard time, saying, have fun, Peter. And Peter's not even here to do it. He is watching at home. He's in the chat. Hello, Peter. Watching at home from the chat. He's down with the sickness this week. So he will hopefully be back next week.
For that, let's just give Peter the sound of silence, and let's go to some overdrive here.
Let's do it. Overdrive. Back from Shano Effects Overdrive here at Circuit of the Americas. You see this battle continuing between Curling and Silva. Getting close to nitty-gritty time here, Jim. Under 20 minutes, we're looking at less than 10 laps left in this one.
Yeah, my math still says 32. Producer Carlos says 34, so I don't even know if the drivers know how many laps there are to go. But yeah, just getting down to it. And man, what a wild race this has been so far. There's been a lot of action.
A lot of action, a lot of slipping and sliding all over. The battles that we were watching have since settled down because of getting off and on of pit road. Really, best battle on the track is going on for fourth right now between Curling and Silva as they try to hold on. This is for fourth right now. Sweeping through these tight left-handers. Oh, and behind him, Jeff Yenish goes around, and the number 89 was a lap down. Goes around right in front of Alan Young. Recovers nicely. And sorry to my sister, I know you're probably not watching because you're still at work, but number 89, unfortunately, having a rough go of it. That's my sister's race car number in her car, for those wondering at home. So she always likes to try to cheer for number 89. Was happy got a win. Taking a look at the replay of what happened here with Yenish, and very similar to what we saw with Krobach earlier. Just kind of had wheel hop, and Alan Young does a nice job getting by.
Yeah, that is just a product of worn tires and a hot racetrack with little grip on it. You know, this is a fairly new racetrack. It opened in 2012, and you would think that the pavement would have a lot of grip, but those hot Austin, Texas summers sure do take their toll on the asphalt here.
Track temperature is still dropping, though. 113 now, peaked at about 121. 51% humidity here at this one. Still 66 ambient temperature with a 7-mile-per-hour wind. But man, oh man, this is it's been an interesting race to watch unfold here as these battles continue. Oh, Jordan Harnish going for a little bit of a slide and ran out of cheesecake there for a moment. Maybe he saw the drive-through and wanted to swing by and pick up one more set of cheesecake. He was able to save it.
You know, there for a second, I thought maybe I walked into the wrong TV booth there after that overdrive just a couple minutes ago. Thought maybe I went over to the Weather Channel.
Well, you know how it works with racing. I mean, you raced cars at your local tracks in Ohio. You know how it goes. Sometimes the weather comes into play, and sometimes the Weather Channel doesn't exactly like, or sometimes you don't exactly like what that Weather Channel has to say. So you just switch over to another Weather Channel, and you keep switching Weather Channels until you finally find one that you like what it says and says you're going racing. And yeah, I'm going to stick with this one. And usually that one turns out to be the one that's right anyway.
I've been burned by that in the past. I have seen that it's 10% chance of rain, and it poured and got rained out at a few tracks that were more than their fair share of distance away from home. And I know my dad is watching. He was a sucker on one of those trips that had to go along. And just as we pulled into the racetrack, the sun was shining, everything was nice. We pull into the racetrack, a black cloud comes over right after we bought our tickets and walked in the gate.
Worst rainout I've ever experienced in person was the Summer Showdown Super Late Model race up in Evergreen, Washington. 6.5 hours from home, camping in a tent, and it downpoured all weekend. Just in a tent, no cover, no nothing, and it downpoured all weekend. But it was worth it because we got the race in on Sunday, hauled over the 6.5 hour drive. We got pulled over. My buddy who was driving the car got a speeding ticket. Our producer knows of him. Good old Matt Ramathorn getting pulled over. But yeah, he got a nice little 95 and a 70 ticket on the way back. But it was worth it because we got to see one of the best super late model races we've ever seen. So I definitely know what you mean with the weather, and it's so iffy when you have Weather Channel, but that is absolutely not a concern here today because it is piping hot in Texas.
You know, I was at a NASCAR road race and thought that it would be cool if it rained and they had to put on rain tires until it was, a hurricane force rain for 3 hours. And just about every car that I wanted to see win the race ended up stuck in the mud. So I don't really like rain anymore.
So we usually race on Saturdays. So on Saturdays, that word does not exist in my vocabulary. I only refer to the letter R on Saturdays because I hate that stuff so much. Thankfully, that's not a thing on iRacing. And while we get into these closing stages, let's go through the field here. Scott Eckerich leading the way, has been the dominant car pretty much all day in the number 70. He's led pretty much every lap with the exception of the ones that Greg Evans led during that pit cycle. It has been a dominating day for Scott Eckridge in the number 70. He's looking for win number 1, 2, 3, 4. Looking for win number 5 on the season for the number 70 in his return season to the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Eckridge, of course, picking up right where he left off all those years ago. Good to have him back in the field. He's leading the way, Jim.
Yeah, last year's champion Greg Evans not struggling too much in second place, so it's going to be a good points day, but nearly 30 seconds behind Scott Eckridge is quite the struggle for Evans, and he's off the track as we watch him. That seems to be a common occurrence with us here tonight. Just not showing all the speed that we would have expected out of that number 2 car.
Sitting in third, and we talked about if there was a big 3, it would be the big 3.5, because Johnny Avila has been so close so many times in this series, and he has not made every race either. He missed the start of the season, but here he is, another fantastic performance for Johnny Avila, up in the third spot right now, putting pressure on Greg Evans, by the way. This is about to be a battle for second here within a couple of laps if Avila can get up there to Evans, but another stellar run by Johnny Avila. Had the gutsy move earlier coming out of the pit road to hang on to those spots, and it proved to be huge because here he is still sitting in the third spot.
And in fourth place, we have the 2019 Watkins Glen winner for the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Actually, that was before the full Cup Series schedule, but Corey Silva did pick up that win. Was actually planning on starting and parking, was not happy with the way that practice had gone, or testing had gone prior to tonight, and right now riding in the top 5. So I'd say Corey Silva is going to check this one off as a pretty good race for him.
Running out the top 5 is a guy who we talked about was going to be a front runner tonight. Hasn't led a lap yet, but has been a very solid performance in the number 10 for Nick Curling, the Toyota, sponsored by Curling Design Labs. He designed quite a few cars in this field, so Nick Curling not only getting it done in the design shop, getting it done on the racetrack tonight, and showing why he is a very, very solid road course driver, why he won at Sonoma last week, and why he has to be considered a threat every time. And with 5 road course races on the schedule counting tonight, you know Nick Curling's got to love what he's seen moving forward here.
Another driver who really likes what he sees is Tyler Seville. He's leading the Will Warstler Racing charge, which is a little bit unexpected. I would have put the 18 of Doug Mullins in that place based on prior experience, but Seville having quite the run, just outside of the top 5 in the 6th position, and that number 11 Toyota has shown speed and consistency. Haven't seen him off the track at all tonight. He may have, but haven't seen him here on 3 Wide TV go off the track. So quite a run there for Tyler Seville.
His car owner and proud sponsor of tonight's race, Will Warstler, sponsor of the Will Warstler Racing Grand Prix, sits in 7th. Warstler is not one of those guys you typically think of when it comes to road course in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, but here he is, very quiet run, up in 7th position, started 8th, stayed out of trouble pretty much the whole day, just looking for a solid top 10, and Will Warstler, another fantastic performance for the Tennessee driver, stepped up and sponsored tonight's race for the Will Warstler Racing Grand Prix, having a solid run as well. And honestly, with the road course, if we're not talking about you, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that means you're able to stay out of trouble, and Warstler has done just that. He sits 7th.
The driver who was off to a good start is Brian Yazik in the 55. Has not moved since making that jump up to the 8th position from 14th early in the run. Has just pretty much plateaued where he is, and that clipping the Apex 55 Ford has shown great speed, but just not race winning speed.
AJ Digby, another one of those guys who had to be considered a threat. Here's a battle, by the way, for 9th position. That's Steve Yanish right behind him. This is 4th position. Digby, one of those guys. Again, he works with Will Warstler Racing, has that satellite relationship with the team. And here he is up in 9th right now, trying to fend off Steve Yanish. Does a nice job through the S's there to get away from Yanish just a little bit, open up some breathing room. But Digby, one of the smartest drivers in the field, really really takes the strategizing of the race very seriously. There's a lot of research going into a race and turns a lot of practice laps in a battle now with Yenish, as Twitter verified AJ Digby tries to hold on, but it looks like Yenish is going to make the pass here. Steve Yenish did not qualify for this race. Took a provisional from the 23rd starting spot, just made his way past AJ Digby. Remember, he had already cracked the top 10 earlier in the day as Digby fights back on the outside. Yenish had to fight back after some slip-ups on pit road, but here he is, locked in the battle for 10th. We'll pick up through the field again in just a moment. We're going to keep an eye on this battle because this battle for 9th place is really locked and loaded right now. Digby able to fend him off for now. Now Yenish to the outside. Tries to step up a crossover. Jim, best battle on the racetrack right now.
Absolutely. And, Yenish, after last week's 1-2-3 finish for their team, is not going to be happy with 10th place. He's not really going to be happy with 9th place. He wants more and more and more. But if he can get 9th place out of this after that hard run, I think he'll be happy with it, but he won't be thrilled with it. Oh, Digby's a little sideways there. I think he might have clipped the grass. By the way, I want to compliment AJ Digby on that great haircut that Carlos gave him for his driver headshot. Bring it back to flat top.
Hey, it's good to have some throwbacks here. Not just on the throwback weekend either. Yenish, though, able to complete the pass here on Digby. This is all going on 1 minute and 30 seconds behind race leader Scott Eckridge. And Jim, we are in the closing stages. We are under 7 minutes now. We've got to be about 3 laps away from the checker flag. By the way, Scott Eckridge working lap number 29, looking like you were right on the money of 32 laps if we see this thing through the way we think it's going to.
Well, I can't take all the credit for that. Sim Racing Apps does a great job of doing the math for me. So just like Michael Waltrip, I don't have to do all the math. But yeah, a lot easier with Sim Racing Apps right ahead of me here, showing us the fastest lap. Which, by the way, fastest lap of the on the last lap was Johnny Avila at a 2:22.767 to a 2:23.336 for Eckridge. So a little bit of an advantage there for the 63 car over the 70, but I think it's too little too late if he's more than 30 seconds behind.
Scott Eckridge has his first real case of elevated blood pressure right now because there's a side-by-side battle right in front of him between the 17 of Stone and the 39 of Baskins. For position, by the way. This is for the 25th position on the racetrack, right in front of your race leader. Eckridge is going to be able to get by Baskins here. Now he has to try to pick his moment around Kevin Stone. This is really the first time that Eckridge has had something to really worry about in the windshield.
Yeah, Baskins has been on and off the track more times than my nephew hits the light switch in a day. And he really does like that light switch, I'll tell you.
I gotta say, I can't think of a kid that doesn't. I know I got yelled at several times as a child for messing around with the lights.
I never did. Never.
Oh, I got yelled at a lot.
Light switch. No way.
I got yelled at a lot. Our producer says he was the car window guy. I'm amazed we were able to get him down off the roof of the tower. Figured he was going to be tanning for the rest of the race, but I guess he got his.
The FAA had to come in with a helicopter because there was a spot on the radar, and they asked him to stop
wow.
Uh-oh. Hey, look who it is.
Kevin Stone.
Wait, he's off? He's off? He's on.
Makes it back out there.
It's like the light switch.
Oh, he's not done yet either.
Wait, nope, we didn't get it. Nope.
Thought we were going to get him again. So what happened there was he was trying to get the spot back from Stone and just kind of went off into the corner.
Let me tell you about Kevin Stone. Last week in the Home Net Hosting truck race at Texas, Kevin and I were battling nose to tail for several laps, and I made several attempts to pass him and could not complete the pass. And again, last night at Dover had the same thing. So I would say Kevin Stone is the Ryan Newman of the league. He is very difficult to pass. And he makes
I've
it very
heard,
difficult to pass.
I have heard so many different terms described for Ryan Newman. I think my favorite one was Clint Boyer Darlington last year saying, "Man, he is one hard-headed bleepa bleepa bleepa" on the radio, and it made it to Radioactive. But that just shows you just how hard-nosed a racer a guy like Ryan Newman, or as you're talking about here with Kevin Stone, is. That shows you just how much these guys care about every single position on the racetrack.
Yes, now we're under 3 minutes, so we should be getting the white flag this time by for Scott Eckridge. I can't believe that it would make us, it would add a whole nother lap, because that would add another 2 minutes to it.
Hearing that does sound like it is confirmed. Next time by should be 1 to go. Eckridge right now working lap number 31. This will be a 33 lap event if that holds true.
I'm bored with him as he comes around the final set of corners here. Just take a look at that pit road entrance. Remember, we had that issue with the 12 car a little bit ago where he overshot it. It's difficult. Look at that. You got red on both sides of the track. You got corners. I believe there's a corner coming up here before we go down there. There it is. Look at that. Oh, that wasn't the right corner. See, I told you guys. I know where turn 1 is here. I know what that one looked like. It's the only one I made it through. Here we go. Now we're coming up to it. I see Grant. Take a look. So to the left is the pit road entrance over there. Right? Somewhere over there. Nope. We're still not there. Yes, yay! Now we have a track map. Okay, so maybe this corner? Is this going to be it? I don't think. Nah, I don't know.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
We're coming up on it now. It'll be this corner right about
right.
Here. Make it through the sweeping corner, and then
there we
it's
go.
Right there. There it is.
So it's to the left. So if the car in front of you went there, you wouldn't know that that was the pit road entrance. You would follow the car, yeah.
Scott Eckridge believe is going to come by, and we believe this is going to be the white flag. He takes what should be the white flag, 1 lap to go. Hearing maybe not, maybe 2 more laps. We're under a minute left. Maybe they are going to hold it out to where it will be timeout, white flag, then completed.
It may just be the checkered flag. In oval racing, if you run out of time, because sessions do have a time limit, and so the time limit for those of you that are joining us here and think that's pretty cool. So when we do the lapped races, the races that are counted by laps, there's also a time limit attached to that. So say that a race is 400 laps and it takes 3.5 hours to run. Well, if you don't have 3.5 hours on the time clock, it would run out before 400 laps. We don't see a whole lot of that because there is a lot of time allotted here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series.
Yeah, the time limit doesn't really come into play a whole lot in the oval. We have seen it come into discussion in the past, but we haven't really had it come into major play. And we are being told that will be the white flag this time by for Scott Eckridge as Doug Mullins goes off the track into number 18, just tries to give him some room as you see some of the other battles going on throughout the track. I want to give an attaboy to that car. The 00 of Grant Brown started in 30th position, stayed relatively out of trouble, had to fight, but he has done a fantastic job keeping it relatively out of trouble. 17th right now, plus 13 spots. Only 1 lap down. Nice job by Grant Brown tonight, keeping it out of trouble. And him and Jackson Van Volkenberg, again, still battling. Those two have been glued together pretty much this entire race, Jim.
Absolutely. And it's just a big rubber band. They spread apart, and then they come back. It looks like checkered flag for Scott Eckridge.
Oh, it will be. All right. We were told it would be white flag, and then it's showing checkered flag. So for the 5th time this season, Scott Eckridge gets it done. Here, Circuit of the Americas, the inaugural visit, give it to Scott Eckridge. Win number 5 on the year.
The only thing consistent about iRacing is the inconsistencies sometimes.
Ah, yes, indeed. Eckrich gets his 5th win of the season. Greg Evans is just about now coming off the final turn. And he's going to take the checkered flag in 2nd place. Johnny Avila will be 3rd.
By the time between Eckrich and Evans getting across the line, you could have watched the whole movie Titanic, which, by the way, was a 2 VHS tape back in the day.
Definitely a long one. And a lot of these guys are going to be happy this race is over because it's a long trek around this racetrack. And how about it for Michael Krobach also in the number 72? He is now locked into 14th position after having that early spin in the number 72, and he is going to come home with the top 15. As you see some of our remaining drivers making their way through, that's Woody Mahan in the 84, another lapel car right there. Adam Jersky and Woody Mahan. This is for position, by the way. This is for 12th on the racetrack.
Oh, there.
Settle it. Gordon Harnish right in front of him. Also,
Grant Brown goes around. I think that's Grant Brown. The numbers are hard to read on it.
00, Grant Brown. These guys have been on an adventure today in Austin, Texas. Last corner for these guys. Looks like it's going to be Jersky coming away with that particular spot. Harnish is going to win that battle to pit or to the finish line in 11th. Mahan comes home 13th, and the final car on the lead lap to come around and take the checkered flag will be Michael Krobach in the number 72. And again, what an attaboy to him, because having that early spin, has to just put his head down, doesn't have any cautions to gather it back up, and he's going to come up with a 14th position. But they were all chasing that man right there, Scott Eckrich, a dominating performance by the number 70. And for the 5th time this season, Jim, he's going to get to burn it down on the front stretch.
Absolutely. What a drive. I mean, the guy just put all the time into this race. You can tell he practiced, he learned the track, and just he did it 100% right all the way there. We rode along with him. You could hear the smooth throttle and brake transitions. You could hear, or you could actually visually see the smooth cornering. There was very little mistakes by Scott Eckrich, and one driver that made no mistakes tonight, or no off-track mistakes, was Tyler Seville, the only driver that finished the race with 0 incident points, and he takes home a $10 bounty prize for that.
Nicely done by Tyler Seville. Well, Jim, let's take a look at the unofficial results right now as Eckrich continues his celebration, because it was definitely an interesting race. Battles all over the racetrack. Really, the only way to figure out everything is to just take a look at it at the end. And it was Scott Eckrich grabbing the win, as that's the 11th through 20th ticker. Looking to pick up the top 10 here. Scott Eckrich gets it done for the 5th time this season. Greg Evans in 2nd in the number 2. Johnny Avila in 3rd. Another fantastic run for Avila. Corey Silva, Nick Curling round out the top 5. Tyler Seville, 0x on the night, so he gets the $10 bonus. Will Warstler, Steve Yenish, Brian Yazik, and AJ Digby, your top 10.
Gordon Harnish picks us up in 11th with Adam Jersky, 12th. Woody Mahan in 13th. Michael Krobach bounced back to 14th after his early trouble. Doug Mullins, a disappointing 15th place finish. I expected him to be up in the top 5. Thomas George right there in 16th. Grant Brown with that incredible drive from 30th, finished in the 17th position. And the man that was glued to Grant Brown the entire race, Jackson Van Valkenburg, 18th. Larry Arnn making his first start since Las Vegas in February in the 19th position. And Alan Young rounds out your top 20.
Coming home in 21st will be last week's winner, Jeff Yenish, in the number 89. Mark Myers in 22nd. They're still out there having fun. They're just now making it back to pit road. Jason Stewart comes home in 23rd position. 2 laps down was John Eckhart in the 45. Kevin Stone, we talked about him in that battle with Pete Baskins, 25th and 26th. Tim Knott, 27th. Richard Fletcher holds on for 28th. There are 28 cars running at the end of the race. Drivers that did not finish tonight include Adam Hogland, Mitch Brown, Troy Haight, Evan Black, and Todd Kirkwood. Your 33 drivers that took the green flag tonight in the Will Warstler Racing Grand Prix here at Circuit of the Americas. Well, there's only one more piece of business to go to right now. Here, Jim, we've got to dial up our top 3. We begin
Might need to give
to.
those guys a couple minutes. It's a long track, and it's going to be a little bit till
Yeah,
they
they're
get
gonna have to
over to us.
get. Yeah, so we're getting on Avila, Evans, and of course race winner Scott Eckridge for the 5th time here this season. What a fantastic performance, though, by those 3 drivers, staying out of trouble pretty much all night. Believe that we may have Johnny Avila, who got 3rd, up in this one, so we're going to be able to catch up with our 3rd place driver, Johnny Avila. And Johnny, Greg Rents 3YTV got a copy.
I hear you, buddy.
Hey, man, that was an awesome performance by you here, up in the top 5 pretty much the entire race, battling it out, coming home with another podium. And, man, road course racing is an entirely different animal than what we're used to seeing here on 3YTV with the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. So how's it feel to get a podium, not just at a road course, not any road course? You did it at COTA for the first time in series history that we've been here. A top 3 at COTA definitely has to feel good.
It definitely does. I actually had issues with my wheelbase early in the week, so I didn't get to actually practice until earlier today. I generally like racing road courses in the stock cars, but with the lack of experience, I think this is my worst one. So to finish a top 3, I'm definitely happy about that.
Well, we were talking about it in the booth, Johnny. A lot of what we think got you that top 3 was that move off of pit road exit, battling it out. You saw your teammate there with Steve Yanish right there. He was in the battle with a couple loud pedal cars, and you came up, were in all of a sudden a drag race with him into that first corner and held him off. We credited that one as a big power move for you because that was all for position. You were able to keep 4 positions on the racetrack on your side there with that one. So talk to us about that move, because that one we think up here is something that definitely got you a top 3 tonight.
Seeing how fast Greg Evan was on that first run, I figured I needed to pit early, and I couldn't waste any time when I got off. So I saw those cars coming. I just sort of had to stick my nose in there and try to make the most out of it so I could try to save some tires, because I know he'd probably stretch the run out.
Well, Johnny, a very difficult track to drive here at COTA. We're heading to another difficult track next week, but for an entirely different reason. We head to Dover next week for the Gunskins.com 150, and Dover, a driver's track, Johnny, a track that you really kind of got to fly by the seat of your pants. The sensation of speed there is on unimaginable levels compared to some of the other tracks we go to. What are you expecting from Dover next week for 150 laps?
I'm hoping something similar. I love Dover. It's one of my favorite tracks on the game, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Johnny, 3rd place here tonight. Who got you here? Who do you want to thank?
Just want to thank everybody that puts this league together. You guys up in the booth. I always look forward to watching these races. And I just want to shout out that Scott Eckridge beat us by 30 seconds. I have no idea how he did that, how he kept his tires under him. Like, that's just amazing.
Johnny Avila, a fantastic performance here. 3rd place tonight at Circuit of the Americas. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, and still no word yet on either Greg Evans or... Oh, we have found Greg Evans in the number 2. Jim Foose has gone to do some post-race stuff, so we are going to catch up with Greg Evans, who finished 2nd. And Greg, another stellar performance here, leading laps at Circuit of the Americas. 2nd place tonight, though, at a track that difficult. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, we just came in here really looking to survive. We got a couple laps a couple weeks ago, and then we turned about 15, 20 laps in a practice. And then we had the practice, for ASRS. We had some laps there. Yeah, man, I am thrilled to come away with the 2nd place tonight.
Well, tell us about this racetrack. You did win a road course race last week, but we were talking to Johnny about it. Road course, not something that you typically see. We have 5 of them scheduled this year. What is it you like about road course racing? Obviously, you've got to like it because you sit here on the podium once again. What is it that you like about road course racing? What do you think it is that makes you so successful at these?
I really don't know what makes me successful, but the one thing I do like about it is just something different. all of us guys who race over here, we're pretty much used to ovals and short tracks and stuff like that. But you throw a road course in there, and I think it really highlights people who really put the effort in, and try to learn these tracks, because Circuit of Americas is different, and you've really got to have a whole lot of different aspects and stuff of road course racing. You're not just put it in fourth gear and driving. You got to brake, really control the car. So I mean, it's just a different ball game. And I think it really brings out the best in a lot of guys. I know Score Scott was gone tonight, but me and the 63 Johnny and oh man, Curling, we had a good battle there at the beginning, and it's just it's something different. You got to put the work in to be good at it. So it's a lot of fun to me.
Mentioning the battle with Avila and Curling, which lasted almost the entirety of the first half of the race. Fantastic racing between the three of you. And you mentioned this, of course, a very tough technical racetrack. We're heading to another tough one next week. We talked to Johnny about this a moment ago. Heading to Dover next week. Very difficult racetrack as well, but for an entirely different reason. 150 laps at Dover next week. What are you expecting as we go from the tight technical Circuit of the Americas to the concrete 1 mile Dover International Speedway? What are you expecting in Delaware next week?
I hope we're pretty good. We missed last year's race at Dover. My mom passed away the week before the race, and that's the one race we missed last year, or two races we missed last year, something like that. But I think we'll be pretty good. I really like Dover. It kind of has a short track feel, but then also with the speed, it kind of feels like a super speedway. So it's gonna, to me, it races more like a short track though. But yeah, Dover's a lot of fun. The only thing about Dover is it really tightens up off the corners. So a lot of side-by-side racing could lead to some wrecks, but hopefully we'll come out of there with the top 5 or top 10 next week.
Dover, one of those tracks that could be debated on whether or not it is a short track. You just heard Greg Evans's take on it. Greg, second tonight here at Circuit of the Americas. You've gotten pretty good at this part, but we're going to let you do it again. Who do you want to thank?
I think Carolina Simworks, they're coming on board for some races. iRacing, iFlag, of course, Hacksaw PC, Maverick Concepts, Freightliner, of course, Sam Maxwell Customs for the wheel. Just thank all those guys. Thank my guys from Still Horse Racing for the support, and we'll see you next week.
See you in Dover, my friend. Greg Evans, second place. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
And with that just leaves one left to go. It's the race winner, Scott Eckridge. And Scott, man, 5th win of the season. And Johnny and Greg both pretty much saying the same thing. They had nothing for you tonight, man. That number 70 was on a rail.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was really looking forward to this one. We're usually pretty good on these road courses, so I was just kind of had this one circled, but I didn't quite know. It's been a few years since I've run here, so it's just glad and relieved to got the win.
You mentioned you had this one circled on the calendar just a couple seconds ago there. What is it about this racetrack that had you so fired up? Because obviously you were ready to go from the moment that we hit green and we clicked the send button, because that number 70 was set to kill all night. What was it about this race that was so enticing for you, and why it was one of those ones you had circled?
To me, these road courses are all about the driver, your throttle control, your line control. It's you versus the track. There's no, there's minimal interference, I guess. So to me, I think that's where I like excel in these setups they're really hard to drive, and I just feel like this gives me the best advantage to win, and that goes for really kind of any of the road courses. I feel like I have a pretty good advantage on. So
we've been one of the dominant drivers. We started talking about the big three aspect here with you, Evans, and Tyler Seville making his way up there as well. You said this was one of those tracks you really like. We've asked the other two about Dover next week, and it's a very tough racetrack, but for an entirely different reason than what we saw here tonight at COTA. What are you expecting in the Gunskins 150 next week at Dover?
Me and Dover have a tenuous relationship. So we've done really good there, really bad there. I've raced with Greg for years. I know Greg's pretty good there. So I mean, I'm sure Tyler would be good there. So I'm betting you'll see a little more of the same next week with hopefully all of us fighting it out.
All right, Scott, 5th win of the season here in Victory Lane. Who do you want to thank?
I got to shout out to Mark for getting this Graphics LC Motorsports team up and running this year. Didn't have a team until about halfway through the season, so just appreciate him for picking us up, and as always, the LPM group for putting up those practice sessions before the race. It's always good to knock the dirt off. So
5th of the season for Scott Eckridge. Congratulations.
thank you.
And with that just about wraps things up here from Circuit of the Americas. I believe our producer was trying to say something to me real quick. All right, he's saying, let's go home. So with that, it's been a wild night here at Circuit of the Americas. It's been a lot of fun here. For Jim Foose in the booth with me, now down doing race admin duties, and our sunburned producer, Carlos Acosta, manning the production truck while on vacation up at the top of the tower. I'm Greg Rentz. We'll see you next time. Dover next week here, same time, same channel. You just saw the Hacksaw PC's premiere series on 3Y TV. We'll see you next week.